We're 5 mythically immortal players with over 40,000 matches of experience, and today we will show you 10 mistakes you have to avoid at all costs as a mid laner to reach mythical immortal as well. Mistake 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, look at all those stolen minions. Mobile Legends is a teamfight game. 5 versus 5, team effort, blah blah blah. But what are the 2 things that heroes need to get stronger in the game? Skills, of course! That's not the right thing. It's items and skills. And how do we get them? That's right, with golden XP. Why I'm telling you the most obvious thing? Well, one big mistake many mid laners make is when they visit the golden XP lane, they take the minions for themselves or clear them together with their side laner. Or they even take the jungler's buff. You already have 4 minions on your own lane, which is enough farm for you. So your job as a mid laner, especially in the early game, is to assure the side laner can firstly farm peacefully, and of course secondly, they don't die. When the enemy is staying under the turret and your side laner is executing their wave management plan, don't be the donkey who mindlessly clears the minions and ruin everything. The main problem playing on either lane is that you have limited resources. Gold laners tend to be item dependent, so they need as much farm as they can to become useful. XP laners on the other hand go head to head with their counterpart and need the level and farm advantage so they can cut the lane to rotate faster. Now, when you share the farm with them by overstaying or even clear the entire wave on your own, you delay them massively, and in the long run they could lose the lane because of this. And I'm sure you all know how useless an underfarmed marksman is. So if you rotate to a side lane, make sure to have a successful gank, but then move back to your lane to get your own minions, which surely already arrived there. Mistake number 2. Hey, I'm here, big guy. With the exception of Novaria and Luyi, the ultimate skill is the most powerful skill a mage has in the game. It can range from burst to AoE to zoning or even vision that can help your team big time during team fights. So one of the most common mistakes mage players make is yeeting their ult out when it's really not necessary. By doing this big mistake, you're essentially dead meat for your team, as mages heavily rely on their skills to be useful. Your allies cannot rely on your damage anymore and are forced to abandon any ganking plans, or worse, they run into it anyways and die as you can't support them anymore. Almost nobody is paying attention to the green dots if your ult is ready or not, so you need to make sure your skills are ready at the exact moment your allies jump into a fight. Especially in the early game, many mages has so long cooldowns that even Gatcha's ult lands earlier. So be very thoughtful when you use them, because without them, you are defenseless. If you have a stun or dash skill that deals damage, don't just blast them at the minions. If you get ambushed right after you use them, you can only hope that you can reach your turret before you're dead. That you shouldn't rotate into a dangerous area when your skills are on cooldown should be obvious, right? Mistake number 3. Tough enemies I don't fear. Dumb allies. When you have a match where your allies love to jump into 1v5s for no reason, and they rather fight for the blue buff instead of the Lord while being toxic AF, then my friend, it's time to steal the show. See these matches not as a burden, but as a chance to have the most awesome victory since weeks. If you tilt now and throw the game away, you will face a guaranteed loss. But if you rather think about what you can do in these situations, you can go a very long way. I mean, where do you think my plus 80% solo queue win rate with 1-1 comes from? By crying over my noob allies? As a mage, it's a bit more difficult, as you can't just blitz push with most heroes. At least not yet. But with the most heroes, you can target that one pesky MFer who is shredding your team apart. Whether it's the jungler or the enemy's marksman, you have the ability to take them down. With them out of the way, your 4 headless chicken allies have at least a slight chance of actually winning a game. And this often leads to everyone shutting up and focusing on the game. The toxicity you should avoid entirely, by the way, by just muting everyone. Unless this gives you a kick to perform even better, which is the case for me. And if you just had bad luck of encountering a troll who keeps trolling no matter what, take the L and accept that you can't have a 100% win rate. Don't compare your win rates with the pros or let yourself being baited by the win rates shared on YouTube. Many pros already admitted that they would never have such a high win rate in solo queue. And if you want a prime example, have a look at 𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐾's account, who many claim to be the king of solo queue. Of course, his overall hero win rates are insane, but they weren't achieved in solo queue. In this season, for example, he has a win rate of 64% and is in Legend 2. Is that bad? Not at all. But it's certainly not a 90% solo queue win rate what many people believe he has. The statement I made 2 years ago still counts today. Everyone who managed to have a ranked win rate above 60% in solo queue is a really good player. And with this mindset, one lost game doesn't hurt as much. By the way, don't forget to click on the join button and check out how you can get your gameplay analyzed or your own personalized guides. Mistake 4. Payback time. Another big mistake many mage players make is this evil little voice in the head saying, "Ooh, I have my items now. Now it's my time to shine." While it's true that you deal way more damage now, it doesn't mean that you're the master of the battlefield now and can bonk everyone with your skills away. Even with great damage, the lack of mobility and your low base HP means you're still easy food if you're not careful. This is why mid laners are taught to stay behind tanks for successful ganks. Because you should never walk alone. That I keep that in the video. With the exception of heroes like Alice, Harley and Julian, who has the need to ambush an enemy and are able to stay close to them for a certain time, you shouldn't do this with most other mages. As mage, you need to master the camping game. Many players complain about campers, but that's a good thing for you because they get annoyed and lose their focus. But of course, don't stay too long in a single bush while no enemy is passing by. Your allies might end up outnumbered and you're the stupid one. Also choose the right bush to camp in, which are essentially the dangerous ones we talked about in our mid lane rotation video. Mistake number 5. Maybe I'll find Lancelot at the next corner. Guys, this is not brawl mode. You have a huge map to explore. As a mid laner, you have to visit every lane here and there like your rich auntie when she comes home for a vacation. But Nico, let the Roma and jungler do the job. I'm not babysitting my ally. Wrong. Well, it's your main task to clear your wave and buy your items first. What is the second? To help your team, of course. While being good as an individual player is very important, it is much more important playing well together with your allies to create the numbers advantage. Yes, even in solo queue, you have to play together with them. And if you're one of those players who always do their own thing and wonder why they lose so often, now you know why. You're welcome. A 2v1 or a 3v2 gives you a much higher chance of winning a gank, which means you can push turrets much faster away and ultimately win the game faster. Because remember, what is the goal of the game? That's right, to destroy this ugly looking base of the enemy. And how can we do it? Of course, by working together with your team to become even more cringe than usual. Even if you're not playing with your friends because you're a solo queue loner, it's still your job to help your team as much as you can, especially because you're a mid laner. If you want to play alone and just split push non-stop, play another hero who has the capabilities of doing it. Mistake number 6. This blood wings is a gift. A common mistake many inexperienced mage players, or generally all inexperienced players make, is that they don't know how to build the right items at the right time. Take note, for example. Is it great to buy blood wings during the early game when the farm speed is still super slow? No, of course not. This item costs 3000 gold, which makes it super expensive and it takes forever to build, especially during the early game. This one was easy, I know. So is it a great idea to buy a Holy Crystal to give yourself this huge magic power boost in the early game? The answer is still no. But Nico, Holy Crystal gives me 100 magic power and the passive, the more damage thingy, that's big damage, right? While it is true that this item gives you a lot of magic power, Holy Crystal's passive gives you a higher percentage bonus the higher level you are. And other items such as Clock of Destiny, Genius Wand, Enchanted Talisman, Lightning Truncheon, Glowing Wand and Ice Queen Wand give you much better stats for the early game. For example, HP, mana, flood penetration or cooldown reduction. Holy Crystal's passive really shines once you got 2 to 3 other magic items and a couple of level ups. So it's a really bad item for the early game. While building items, you should also make sure to prioritize the most useful component items instead of auto-buying everything you see. When you build Enchanted Talisman, prioritize Tome of Evil first for the mana regen and CD reduction. And when getting Clock of Destiny or Necklace of the Runs, get Elegant Gem first for the passive HP and mana regen. These small items will give you a huge benefit for a small price in the early game. And all high-level players do this to get this small advantage over their counterparts. Mistake number 7. You can't have order without chaos. Sometimes when we play and win a couple of games in a row, we could think, this build is perfection. But then during the next games, you suddenly perform much worse and you think, what the hell is happening? I present to you the one build fits all mindset. You should never just press whatever item is showing on your screen without asking yourself, should I really buy this? Do I even need this? Will this item really help me in the current situation? With all the different heroes and millions of possible lineups, can that one build really be used all the time? No, absolutely not. In some games where you are winning, you have to buy more offensive items to boost your damage quickly, so you can dominate the enemies even more and win the game fast. But when your team is currently losing, you have to prioritize items that let you stall the game or survive longer. A prime example will be Fleeting Time. If you are playing a mage like Kadita who relies on her ult, this is a perfect item if you are winning. Each kill and assist reduces your ult cooldown by 30%, so as you get one kill after another, your ult basically has no cooldown, which means you can pressure the enemy non-stop. Now, in a losing situation where you can hardly get any kills or assists, this item is one of the worst you can get, meaning it's a so-called situational item. All mages has their 2 to 3 core items they need no matter what, but the remaining slots need to be filled with items that fit the enemy and game situation. Building 𝐉𝐴𝐬𝐳, for example, while no enemy built any magic defense is bad, but building it last or not at all when your enemy has 3 tanky heroes with Athena shield is even worse, because you will deal way less damage throughout the whole game. If your enemy has many regen heroes, you need to build Necklace of the Runs for the anti-heal effect, unless 2 of your allies already built anti-heal items. I'm sure you get the idea by now. Instead of relying on your one build, make sure to build the right items at the right time. And if you don't know what each magic item does, check out our mage item guide or subscribe to not miss the updated version that also covers advanced stuff like coast efficiency. Mistake number 8. Blood for blood. Connecting with mistake number 2, let's go back to the skill conversation. Nope. As a mid laner, you should know what type of skills you have and how you use them to your fullest advantage. For some nerdy information, here is a full list of all available skill types for mid laners. Mid laners mostly have AoE, crowd control, slow or burst based skills, while there are not many who have blink skills, which are important to survive many situations. So with this information, you need to know what kind of skills your hero has, especially if it's a special one like Frozen, Invincible or more. Where I'm going with this, you ask? I don't know. But what you really need to know are the strengths and weaknesses of your hero, and at which point of the game they shine the most and when they are the most trash. A mage like Harley is really OP in the early game as he has his power spikes at level 4, 5 and 9, so when he gets his ult and when he levels up his first skill that allows him to throw more cards, kills. All enemies are spread across the map, so it's really easy for him picking up one kill after another. In the late game, he's one of the worst mages though, as he can barely find any lonely target anymore. And many marksmen can even outdamage him in a 1v1 if he's not super sneaky and fast. So if a match goes past the 13-minute mark, you rely on your allies or the enemy stupidity to stay relevant. Heroes like Cyclops, Lunox or Cecilian shine much brighter in the mid to late game though, while they are almost useless in the early game. Okay, useless is a bit too much, but other heroes are just way better in the early game. This knowledge helps you immensely when it comes to your decisions. As Cecilian, I'm not roaming around the map non-stop searching for kills, because I need to farm my stacks first so I can deal my devastating damage with my first skill later on. As Harley though, I will definitely not stick mid but roam around to torment any squishy enemy and end the game as soon as possible. So learn when your hero have its power spikes and when they are the most useful and when they are the most trash. And before you ask, no, there's no hero that is OP in every game stage, because this hero will be the highest banned hero. Mistake number 9. The silence of NECROKEEP is too cold, too loud. This is what the guards in the enemy's turrets and base are thinking if you're not going for objectives. Can you believe we went through this whole video without mentioning objective once yet? So let me say objective in every sentence now so it's burned into your mind. Mobile Legends is an objective-based team game, and your main objective is to destroy the enemy's base. So your objective is not stacking up kills because it's fun, but rather killing enemies so it becomes easier taking your objectives. Objectives are not limited to the turrets and base though. The turtle and lord are also objectives, as well as the buffs for example. These objectives are reserved for the jungler of course, so don't steal them. As mage, your objective is to support your team with your skills and your ability to keep the enemies away. So your allies who are capable of pushing can do their job of pushing turrets away. This is the one objective you always need to keep in your mind and remind your allies of. Hell, there's even the quick command push first to remind your allies what the real objective of the game is. Kills are not an objective, but a way to achieve your objectives. And yes, I just repeated myself, but so many players ignore this objective fact, so I better mention it twice. Always remember that the main objective of the game is to destroy the enemy's base. Because if you take this thought into account while making decisions, you will suddenly win way more games as you will not make irrational decisions or hunt kills for no reason. Objectives! Mistake number 10. Rotating around like a headless chicken. Yes, for this one no hero quote, as this topic is no joke. If you don't know how to rotate correctly, all mistakes mentioned before doesn't even matter, as knowing how to rotate is the most important skill you need to master as a mid laner. If you don't know how to rotate, you will fall into every trap your enemy set or miss all of the important moments because you went to the wrong side of the map. Luckily, we made an entire video that covers this topic, which you should check out right now. Also, a huge shout out to our MLG family members, especially the Mythical Glory members like Voltrimos and Nadavck CK. See you over there!